I have finally found a filming spot in my apartment that works. I have these high chairs that I use for my kitchen. It has like a bar area. But they're kind of like awkward height. Anyway, it is the hardest thing to actually use my filming camera because I left my tripod back in California. All that to say, I am so excited for today and this video. I had a Whole Foods this morning, so I was working from 6 a.m. to like noon, 1 o'clock. And this is overdue, so I totally apologize to you guys so much, but I wanted to share a couple of my May favorites with you. So starting off, I'll give you kind of a recap at the end of this, and then I will link as many of these things as I can down in the description box below. But here are some of my May favorites. So I want to start off with podcasts. So unfortunately, I am not working at CareerWise anymore. I loved it so much, and I had the opportunity to listen to a lot of podcasts because of my commute and driving from different schools throughout the week to help kids with resumes and finding an apprenticeship that would be a good fit for them. And unfortunately, like, my contract with them ended, and with the pandemic, there's not a hiring, any kind of hiring going on, and so we are in a hiring freeze, and my contract was grant funded since it is a nonprofit, so I had job security till the end of May. But that being said, you know, I still have been listening to a lot of podcasts. I was listening to a bunch in the month of May as I've been running again, which has been so exciting, and then my earbuds broke. So anyway, it's fine. We'll get new earbuds. That's probably going to be a June favorite. But moving on to podcasts, I have 5 in each of the categories that I have today. So my first podcast that I've been loving is HBR Women at Work. So HBR is the Harvard Business Review, if you don't know that, and they have a series called Women at Work. And this concept of like women who have a career but also are moms, and how they figure out what a balance, if that's even achievable, if that's probably not even the right word for this, but it's just such a fascinating concept to me. I know that there's a lot of talk about that with feminism. I actually had a really amazing conversation yesterday over coffee with my friend Bailey, and we were talking about what that like means and like what that looks like, and how we think that like this push for like female empowerment like sometimes puts this pressure on us as women, that we feel like, at least, where we want to be excellent at being a mom, and there's that maternal thread in us that really wants to care well for other humans, especially little ones. And you know, not everybody feels that for sure, but like a lot of us do. And you know, there's a reason for that strength that like pulls heavy specifically in women, at least I believe it does, in a lot of dynamics. And then there's also this like drive in us. Both of us went to business school as well, and like we want to be more than competent. We want to prove ourselves in the workplace. And so one of my favorite episodes was just interviewing some women who are like complete fire go-getters, but also people who you know, like constantly have to redefine what motherhood and what a female nailing her career, and sometimes not nailing it and having to restructure both motherhood and being a professional woman, what that looks like. And so anyway, HBR Women at Work, really amazing podcast, totally recommend it. It is awesome. I've really been enjoying the thought-provoking conversations that they've been recording and sharing out. So the second one is something I can't believe I don't think I've ever shared on my YouTube channel, but I've been listening to for, I think, almost 4 years now, going on like 3 to 4 years. And I'm kind of spotty with what I like rotate through or gravitate towards depending on my interests for the season or the month or the week or the day. But one that's always been very calming to me, which I think has been part of its appeal this season because of all the craziness, and there's a lot of like really charged conversation in general, and a lot of like very strong emotions, is The Next Right Thing by Emily P. Freeman. She's an author, she's a Christian, she is a very thoughtful woman, and her voice is so soothing. Like, you could probably listen to this as you're brushing your teeth at night and you'd fall asleep right after, like, with a happy heart. It's that kind of a, like, warm, fuzzy feeling podcast. I also enjoy listening to it in the morning if I, like, feel like maybe I've had a rough night's sleep or something. It's like a gentle soul hug is what it feels like. And they're very short. They're like 5 to 15 minutes long. She's also got a book called The Next Right Thing, I believe, and I have not read it, although it's on my list. And I've heard great things. She's just been very consistently herself and given herself grace to take breaks, even as somebody who produces a lot of content, which I really respect, because sometimes we forget that the people behind the camera, behind the YouTube channel, behind the podcast have lives too, and you know, sometimes we have family that's going through stuff, and her being honest about that, even with all these followers and people who have really been, you know, looking to her, and they like have it as part of their practice every day to listen to these things, to take a break and share that, I think is so empowering for me personally, because, you know, one day if I ever write a book or something, like, I would want to be that honest. So she kind of has trailblazed that in my life as an example. So I'm grateful, Emily P. Freeman, for that. Thank you. The third one that I have been loving in my podcast series is the Lawyerist Podcast. This has been a recent favorite for me. I've really been enjoying it the past maybe 6 months to a year, since I started studying and taking the LSAT. I am happy to announce, I haven't posted this anywhere yet, but that I will be starting a Master of Legal Studies program in the fall. I am so pumped about this. And so the Lawyerist Podcast is, again, really thoughtful content. I really appreciate it because it bridges the business community with the law. One thing they talk about a lot is how lawyers sometimes, you know, they have their own practice, but their practice is also a business, and they don't get business school training while they're getting their law degree. So it's just very, like, practical, and for me, coming from a business background, like, going into hopefully a more, like, law heavy workload, I'm excited because it helps me helps me understand a new thing on the basis of an understanding I've already built, if that makes sense. So really great. It's actually, that sounded really complicated, but if you have any kind of general sense about economics or business, even if you, like, played store as a kid, like, they make every concept so easy to understand, and I really enjoy it. So the Lawyerist Podcast, they have a website if you ever need, like, some legal things to look through. It's a great resource for that in general, especially if by any chance you're curious about law. It's a great little thing to whet your appetite as well. So my fourth podcast that I'm recommending from the month of May that I really loved as I did my runs is the Rise Together podcast with Dave and Rachel Hollis. I adore them. Who doesn't? If you know who Rachel Hollis is, you love her. Like, I don't know anyone who feels any negative vibes towards her. She's, like, so incredible, and so encouraging, and, like, she'll, like, pump you up, but also, like, is pretty humble for everything she's achieved. So I appreciate them. They have really fun, funky conversations. I love how unscripted it feels when they're talking, which is kind of something I like about this next podcast I'll recommend as well. But I love that they're a couple coming together and discussing these things. It's encouraging for me to, like, hear and listen to their dynamic as a couple about things that are challenging to them. They were talking about, before the pandemic, they were kind of in a rough spot with their marriage, just very, like, tired, and little things were getting to them, and they were reflecting on this podcast about how it actually, the pandemic, like, really gave them something to think about, and, like, it put a filter over how they were seeing all these little issues. And I love that so much because, like, I'm in a relationship right now and, like, love this guy so much. Like, he's amazing, and, you know, I can see him be my like life buddy forever, and I love that. And it's like one thing that my parents like demonstrated, not always in a positive light, was conflict, and how sometimes the little things like they build up so much, and like they can really be that final needle, or they can be that final thread that like just breaks you when everything else is stressful. And their conversation and the willingness to open up about that, for me, again, great example, like something I hope for in my life, because if I have a life partner, like I want to let them in on those things. Like it's scary to let somebody in, especially if you're like a fairly independent person, like I consider myself to be, but to have the courage to let people in before, like while things are small. That's my thing. Like that's what stuck out about that last podcast with the Rise Together podcast, is that while things are small, can we have courage to verbalize how they make us feel, how they're impacting us? Because if your spouse or your partner like cares about you, they're going to want to understand those underlying things. Like there could be something that they say or do that just ticks you off, and it's like normally it wouldn't tick you off, but like if there's a lot of those little things happening, maybe there's something deeper, and maybe they can help you figure that out. Maybe they're willing to walk to that space inside of you where you figure out the hard things. So anyway, Rise Together podcast, Dave and Rachel Hollis. That's podcast number 5 is the Connected Life podcast. My cousin Abigail, she worked in DC, and I think she's moved back to Hawaii during the pandemic, but she recommended this to me about a year ago. I was calling her literally a year ago when I first came to Denver, and it's another couple very similar to Dave and Rachel Hollis's style, a very like playful banter back and forth kind of thing, and they do like life coaching with people, and so they really talk to each other. I'm going to say this because part of my May favorites is like my reflection and review about these things. So sometimes they maybe make me a little uncomfortable, not necessarily in a bad way. It's something that helps me notice a lot of things. But do you ever have conversations? I remember when I was in undergrad with like the psychology students, and they like say things that strike a chord really deep in you, and you're like, no one's ever seen that in me. How can you just talk about it? That's how I feel listening to this podcast. It just like kind of shakes me a little bit. I definitely don't listen to that one while I run, because I think it would make me maybe cry, or I would think about something so hard and like forget to keep running and maybe fall on my face. I don't know. That's kind of dumb to say, I guess, but like it just, do you know what I mean? Like psychology people, like sometimes they just say stuff and you're like, oh my shoot, like you study people for sure. That's your thing, and that's a little terrifying. Anyway, it is very thought-provoking, very good if you're into like personal development and trying to figure out the things that maybe your parents overcorrected and you're trying to overcorrect from their mistake, or the thing that they did that maybe wasn't the best for you after all, even though they were trying their best, I'm sure. It can be a really helpful podcast to like shed light on things in your life. So that's what I had to say about that. That definitely sounded like a more negative review than I felt when I first wrote that down on my little listy here, but it really is a good podcast. Go give it a listen. They are a really funny couple to listen to, but I do have to take it in doses, so duly noted for all of us here. Moving on to my next section is the product section. So I actually, oh my gosh, I switched this. Wow, okay, I actually have just like a bunch of recipes that I wanted to share. No, those are products. Okay, that's fine. So my first one is morning muesli. Well, that's awkward. My video memory card got full. So back to the phone it is. Trusty iPhone, what can I say? Has not failed me yet. So I was talking about products. So muesli is a kind of like an oatmeal. It's just like a grain mix, and so the one that I've been eating has like coconut, some like raisins, dates, pumpkin seeds. I think it's a Bob's Red Mill one, or I got it from Trader Joe's. I don't remember. But muesli in general is like super delicious. You can make it yourself at home. But I've been really enjoying it with homemade oat milk or almond milk, which are a couple of recipes that I will talk about in a second. But I really love that with like some banana and like some berries in the morning. It's also great with like thawed frozen fruit, which I'm a huge fan of. Like, I think they're so underrated, but like you get some like frozen mango and just set it out while you're like getting ready in the morning. And then it's like perfectly soft and like a little bit chilled in the morning. It's so refreshing. And blueberries are another great one. Raspberries are a little tricky because I feel like are just so tangy and pungent. That's a whole nother thing. But that's my number one product from May that I loved. Number two, I did not understand the oat milk train until May of 2020. It is delicious in coffee. Holy moly. Like, I made it, I got a new blender and gave back the Vitamix that my friend had lent me. But it has like a setting for oat milk, and like it's a little slimy in your like cereal. Like, don't eat that with your Reese's Puffs because it's gonna be a little awkward for everybody. Poor Daniel. That's all I had in the fridge because I hadn't gotten him like almond milk or anything, and I had some friends over for breakfast, and like he was such a champ, but he was like, this is like snot. So I think I like doing my oat milk not with the oat milk setting. It's like a nut milk setting, so I think it just blends it a little bit too long. It's great for almond milk, which I also made this past week. But yeah, oat milk in general though is great. It's so easy to make. You just take 1 cup of oats, 4 cups of filtered water, and blend it for 30 seconds, strain it with a nut milk bag, and then put it in a sealable, like I use a mason jar usually, and it's great. Like, you just heat up your coffee in the morning, and then pour a little bit of that in there. You can sprinkle a little sugar in there if you want to. So good, literally so good. It's so creamy and like helps my stomach because like I love coffee, but like the acidity sometimes gets me, and so it's very helpful in that aspect. It's also really good in smoothies, which I have at least like 1 smoothie almost every day, if not most days, and yeah, love that. So that's product number 2. You can buy it, you can make it yourself, doesn't matter. It does like literally cost like not even $1 to make though, so would recommend that if you become a fan like I have. Number 2, that was oat milk. Number 3 are bean brownies. This is like kind of a recipe, kind of a product. You can buy at places. I made a big batch of beans while Ryan was visiting in May, and I literally just could not eat them all. I did not realize how much dried beans in a crock pot equals cooked beans. Like, it's significantly more. So anyway, I had a ton of beans left over, and I'd heard about bean brownies, and I finally decided to actually make them, and they were super good. I don't have like a brownie pan. I don't have like an 8x8 or a 9x13. I just have like a normal sheet pan. I just lined it with parchment paper and then spread it a little bit like on like a third or a half of the sheet on top of the parchment, and baked it and sprinkled some like dairy-free mini Enjoy Life chocolate chips on top, and it was bomb. Like, it was definitely different, and they were fudgier brownies and they were thinner because I just spread them on there. But it was really good, so I really enjoyed that. I will probably make those again probably every time I make beans in the crock pot. So really good. I guess that's a product. I didn't put that on the list. We'll make that number 4. So not a food product, oddly, but a crock pot. I love them. I've used them for cooking for my family back in California, but with one person, I was like, do I really need a crock pot? I love beans. Like, I grew up eating beans. I'm half Hispanic, and it is a necessity. And I've been buying like canned beans and stuff, which they're not the same. They just aren't. So when Ryan was here, I like chucked some meat in there and like turned that on so he had plenty to eat like while he was studying for finals, and I could go to work and not worry about him like having to figure out what to eat. But yeah, so I did that, and I've been making beans in there. I'm gonna try to make some soup later this week with just like the random bits and pieces I have from like some beans and veggies, and some like onion and garlic and spices. It's gonna be amazing. Try to do like a fridge sweep. Again, I do that once a month. If you don't know that, I love doing a fridge sweep. There's so many good ideas and recipes where you just dump all your crap into a pot or a pan and make dinner, and it's amazing. Number 5, I love Forager Cashew Yogurt. That's my number 5 review. It's amazing. I had a coupon on Ibotta, and they were also on sale at the store, so I grabbed like 2 or 3, and my favorite flavors are the plain, unsweetened, and the strawberry. I had the, what one did I have this morning? Blueberry this morning. Blueberry was fine too, but what I like to do with the plain one is do like a dash or 2 of stevia and then cinnamon, and then mix that up and then add my like berries and granola on top. You could actually add your muesli and some like frozen fruit in there as well and do like an overnight oats kinds of thing. That would be super good with them as well. But yeah, fresh fruit, some granola, you put that on your Forager, and like it's really good. I like the texture of it and the consistency. It doesn't taste funky or grainy. Like I feel like so many alternative yogurts do that, and it's just like, I've literally like bought some of those like oat milk yogurt or like almond milk yogurt, coconut yogurt. Coconut yogurt actually I think is fine, but the other 2, just I have not found ones that I like. So the cashew yogurt, bomb. And then one more bonus because I threw in the crock pot, but the 5th/6th product that I really, really love are the Saffron Road Roasted Chickpeas. These are like crunchy croutons. I cannot have gluten, and so like sometimes in salad, like I miss croutons. I love crunchy things. And the chickpeas, the roasted chickpeas, are like toasted puffs of crunch that are so good. I've had 2 flavors. I've had like the original plain one, and then there's one that's kind of like spicy. I don't really remember which one it was, but that one was really good too. A little bit too spicy for me actually. So I think I would get, I'm actually gonna, it's on my list for grocery shopping this weekend, but buying them again, if you're vegan, especially like getting that protein in, you know, especially if you train a lot, like they're so good. You can snack on them right out of the bag. Like you can put them on a salad, you can put them on like a Nourish bowl, like so many good things. Yeah, they're like, cannot say enough good things. I had my friend Dana, her sister Noelle, and then our other friend Nora come over for dinner, and I made like a spinach salad and just like added some artichokes, cucumber slices, and then the chickpeas, the roasted chickpeas, and a little bit of hemp seeds on top, just like that. And it was amazing. Like it was so good. Very simple, very easy, but it just added like a whole nother level of like, ooh, what's that? And they loved it. So I actually sent them on the road trip with the rest of it because they liked it so much. All right, moving on to my top 5 favorite recipes. Again, oat milk, I already told you how to make that one. So it's 4 cups of water, 1 cup of oats. And then you just want to blend that. You like put them all in the blender at the same time and blend it as quickly as you put it in. Like don't waste time, it will get mushy. So it's super quick, and then strain it, fridge, you're good to go. Almond milk. Similar, you soak the oats, not the oats, don't soak your oats. Soak the almonds, and then in the morning rinse them and then put them in the blender, and then I usually do 3 or 4 times the amount of almond like into liquid. So again, like that 4-to-1 ratio as well, and you can blend that. I have a setting on my blender, blend it till it's smoothish, I guess, and looks like milk. I can make a video on that if you guys would like to see that. I also have a couple of smoothie / chia seed recipes. So my first smoothie recipe is a blueberry chia smoothie, and I use blueberries, chia seeds, protein powder, and then you can use an almond milk or like any kind of alternative milk that you'd like, or water is fine too. And that's it. You just blend that up. You can chuck some ice in there. I use frozen fruit like all the time in my smoothies, so that makes them cold, and I don't love my smoothies like super cold and icy, so it works out fine that way with the frozen blueberries. They also like get nice and thick, like a very thick smoothie. So I usually make this in like a smaller batch, like if it's in the evening or something, it's like a nice little desserty kind of flavor. I have a green recover smoothie that I've been loving to make as well. I use the Beachbody orange plant-based recover, and that's got 20 grams of protein in it as well. I use that as my protein powder pretty frequently these days. So I'll do a scoop of that into like water, some ice, and then 2 handfuls of spinach in there. And you cannot tell that there's spinach in there. It tastes like an orange creamsicle. It looks green, but tastes super fruity and yummy. So super simple, love that. And then chia seed pudding. So I actually made a big batch of this. I used a whole batch of oat milk and added some chia seeds. I always put a little dash of maple syrup, and then sometimes I'll put a little stevia in as well. And then I stirred up after 5 minutes of letting it sit all in the same container, and then 15 minutes again I stirred up, and then I put it in the fridge. Usually lasts me like 3 or 4 days, and it's good as breakfast, again with the granola and some fruit, you know, my staples in the morning. Or you can put it with like as a pudding, like at dessert or something like that, and you can put some like whipped cream on top, or something like that, and some berries. It's really good, really simple, really easy, and I wasn't sure I was gonna like it with the oat milk, but I really love the consistency of it. It was nice and thick and creamy and yummy, but not heavy at all, so really loved that. To close, I have a couple of beauty products that I want to share. I bought an epilator off of Amazon for $25, and I use it on my legs, my pits, and a little bit on my bikini line. And you know, to be honest, I bought like a cheaper one than I've had in the past, and it really shows, like personally, like when I'm using it. It has been like maybe 2 years since I've actually owned an epilator. They're great. As a side note, in general, I would definitely probably go towards purchasing a little bit higher quality one than the one that I purchased. I purchased like a Heizik. So it worked, but I think maybe I just need to get the hang of it again, because it would miss some spots a little bit more than others. And it might be like my ankle that I'm using, but the other one that I had before was from Brown, I don't know how to say that word. And it was just so much easier. And this one like is pretty intimidating. My friend came over and saw it, and she's like, that's like scary, because it's got like all the tweezers like right there. And I just would rather like spend a day or two, like over the course of 2 days, like just taking care of everything and not having to worry about it for like 2 or 3, 4 weeks. The more you use it, the less often you have to like actually use it. So I would use it like every other month, like once I had been regular with it. And that sounds a lot better to me. And also it's just a little more eco-friendly. That's something I'm really trying to be more conscious of these days. So yeah, epilator, definitely good. Investment, I would probably wait to actually invest a little bit more into it. I'll keep you posted though. I'll give you an update later, probably next month or the month after that, once I've nailed how to use it a little bit better. Might even do a video on how to use that. So that's beauty item number 1, an epilator. Number 2, so I don't know if I want to call it a favorite. It's the Aussie Curl, Miracle Curl line. I have the like pump serum as well as like the curl cream, and I like it. Like you can kind of see my hair is still a little bit curly today. I have it like half braided on the top, but it's made my hair more wavy than anything else. It holds the curl fine if I put quite a bit in it, but it also kind of looks a little bit greasy, and so I'm not sure if like my ratio is off or what, but in order for it to stay like this, I do have to use quite a bit of product, so I don't know that I will buy them again. I did have a coupon, that's why we tried it. I bought a couple of Bath & Body Works items because they had their semi-annual sale. So I got some discontinued items that I used to love, like the Central Amber and another one. Let me grab it really quick. I tried 2 new products this time. I did Black Amethyst because I really love some of the like scents that they have in here. And then I also got the Black Raspberry Vanilla spray. I spray this a little bit like in my hair also when I use it, just to like freshen things up and stuff, especially since I work out a lot. Sometimes I do not like want to wash my hair all the time, especially with the curls, because it dries my hair out. So I sometimes will just spritz a little bit up there. That's a little secret that I do. And then I also use Pond's. Pond's is my 4th beauty product. It is just Ponds, Pond's. I've been using this for like over a decade. It's just like a cream that I use. It's like a moisturizer, and I use it in the morning and the night, like after I wash my face. And moisturizing your face is good for you guys. Just throwing that out there. If you're not moisturizing and you're like over 13, start. Like, it is so good for your skin. And my 5th one that I would say, actually I have another one I want to add on here too. That's what I was just using earlier today. Or should I make that a June favorite? That'll be a June favorite because I think I bought that in June. But my 5th one is ActiWow. I have a couple of their products, and full disclosure, I am a product ambassador. They send me different products to actually try out. And so I have a coupon code, which I will link down below as well. But yeah, ActiWow is a teeth whitening company. They have different toothpaste. They have charcoal toothpaste. They have whitening pens. They have teeth whitening kits. The teeth whitening kit with the LED light is by far my favorite. Like, I see immediate results. Like, it works so quickly. If you have like a wedding that you're going to, I 10 out of 10 would recommend it. I have sensitive teeth. Like, sometimes I'll like breathe on cold air and feel it in my teeth, and feel like a lot of pain. So it's fine for you if you have sensitive teeth. They give you like different time recommendations based on it, and I have not had any problems with it at all. So I definitely recommend that one. I also have been a fan of the whitening toothpaste that they have. I've tried the baking powder one. And then I've also tried the charcoal toothpaste in the, I think, vanilla flavor. The only thing I would say about the charcoal toothpaste, it is super messy. So it's great when I I also need to clean my sink because it like both are gonna get done that day. So like it brightens your sink up too if you've got a nice little white sink. So those are my different my favorites this month. We covered podcasts, products, recipes, and beauty things. I will throw in 2 other fun things that I've also been enjoying. Actually 3. One is music. I've really been enjoying Maverick City and Red Rocks Worship a lot in the mornings and afternoons. I, as a show, really have enjoyed Queer Eye. I just think that it's so encouraging and it's really insightful into kind of a well-rounded makeover, if you will. I have a shameless confession about a Netflix show that I've really been enjoying. Please do not watch this if you don't like drama at all, or you think that like people are petty sometimes, because this will feed that so much. But it's called Yummy Mummies on Netflix. There's only 2 seasons. I have never finished a show so fast. I was so fascinated by these women. They are just bougie to the max, and it's hilarious. So if you like, I'm like kind of ashamed to admit that I watched the whole thing but I did. I totally did. And then my last thing that I wanted to share, I'm actually wearing this Be Kind shirt right now from XO Mandy Sue, which is one of the companies that I also partner with. This is a super like cute, fun tee, and I'm not usually a t-shirt person, but I do like to make people smile, and so this shirt has done that for people. I wore it at work the other day, and so many people just like needed that reminder. So here's your reminder to just keep on keeping on. I know that the world is crazy. It is still safer at home. It is nice that things are starting to open up, but definitely like, you know, be conscientious of others, you know, be gentle with people as we're figuring out what returning back to civilian life is like, and be kind. So I hope you guys are doing well, staying safe, happy and healthy, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye. Boom. Hi guys. Let me just check, make sure that works.